What are you most afraid of right now? Take a moment. Close your eyes. Let the question sink in. Maybe it's the fear of failing at your job, of letting your family down, of stepping onto a stage and having your voice shake. Maybe it's the fear of starting something new, launching that business, writing that book, making that change, and wondering if you'll fall flat on your face. Or maybe it's something deeper, quieter, harder to name. Here's the truth: fear is universal. Everyone, yes, everyone, feels it. From the billionaire entrepreneur standing on Wall Street, to the single mom working 2 jobs in Texas, to the teenager scrolling late at night in California, wondering if they'll ever fit in. Fear is part of being human. But what if I told you that fear isn't your enemy? What if I told you that fear is actually a guide, a signal, even a gift? Fear, a built-in alarm system. Thousands of years ago, fear kept our ancestors alive. When a predator lurked in the shadows, fear triggered the body. Heart racing, muscles tensing, senses sharpening. It screamed, run, hide, survive. Without fear, humans wouldn't have made it this far. Fear is not weakness. Fear is survival. But here's the catch. Today, most of the fears we face are not life or death. They're psychological, social, imagined. We don't fear lions in the dark. We fear rejection, failure, embarrassment. And yet the body reacts the same way. Sweaty palms, shaky voice, racing thoughts. Our brains take small threats and blow them up into monsters. And because of that, many people let fear drive their lives. They stay in jobs they hate because they're afraid of risk. They silence their voices because they're afraid of judgment. They put their dreams on hold, sometimes forever, because they're afraid to fail. Les Brown once said, "Too many of us are not living our dreams because we are living our fears." Think about that. How much of your life right now is shaped not by what you desire, but by what you fear? The 2 faces of fear. Psychologists often talk about fear in 2 ways. The first kind is legitimate fear, the kind that protects you. Don't step into traffic, don't touch the hot stove, don't swim too far out into the ocean without a plan. This kind of fear is rational. It guides caution. It saves lives. The second kind is imagined fear, the what if fear. What if I fail? What if I'm not good enough? What if people laugh at me? This kind of fear doesn't save your life. It steals your life. It paralyzes you. It builds a prison made not of walls, but of doubts. So the question isn't, do you have fear? The question is, does fear have you? Fear and the comfort zone. Abraham Maslow once said, in any given moment, we have 2 options. Step forward into growth or step back into safety. That choice happens every single day. Do you stay in your comfort zone where things feel safe but nothing grows? Or do you step forward into the unknown where fear is waiting, but so is your potential? The truth is, growth and fear are twins. You cannot have one without the other. Every time you grow, you will feel fear. And every time you choose to face fear, you grow. Think about it. The first time you rode a bike, you were afraid of falling. The first time you asked someone out, your heart pounded. The first time you spoke in public, your voice trembled. But you did it anyway. And that's where confidence was born. Not before fear, but after fear. The inner battlefield. Here's what fear does inside the mind. It whispers what if, again and again until you believe it. What if I try and fail? What if people laugh? What if I'm not ready? What if it's too late for me? That's the battlefield. Fear is not outside. It's inside. And the more you feed those thoughts, the more they control you, But here's the flip side. Courage is also inside, and it begins the moment you ask a different question. Instead of what if I fail, you ask what if I succeed? Instead of what if they laugh at me, you ask what if they're inspired by me? Fear and courage both live in the same place. Your imagination. The one that wins is the one you feed. A story of stepping forward. Let me tell you a story. A young man once dreamed of becoming a writer. He had ideas, passion, notebooks full of stories. But he was terrified. Terrified of rejection. Terrified of being not good enough. So he stayed silent. He worked a job he didn't love, and every night he told himself, "And one day I'll write that book." Years passed. The fear never went away. But one day he realized something. The pain of regret would be far worse than the pain of rejection. That night he opened his laptop and wrote his first page. He was still afraid, his hands still shook. But he wrote. That man wasn't fearless. He was courageous. Because courage isn't the absence of fear. It's action in the presence of fear. The seed of courage. So here's the shift. Fear is not a wall. Fear is a doorway. Every fear you face is an invitation to grow, to discover, to become more than you are right now. Fear says, stay safe, stay small. Courage says, take the step anyway. And the truth is, you get to choose. You are the captain of your ship. Fear can sit in the passenger seat, but it does not get to drive unless you hand it the wheel. A challenge for you. Right now, I want you to pause this video or maybe just take a notebook. Write down 3 things you are most afraid of in your life. Don't filter. Don't edit. Just write them down. Then ask yourself, what dream, what opportunity, what version of myself is hiding on the other side of these fears? Because remember, the life you want, the courage you admire, the freedom you crave, they don't live in the comfort zone. They live just beyond the fear. Kaki, fear is not your enemy. Fear is not weakness. Fear is not the end. Fear is the beginning of courage, the beginning of growth, the beginning of the life you've always wanted. So the next time fear whispers, what if you fail? Look it in the eye and answer, what if I fly? Let's be honest, most people see fear as the enemy. We're told, don't be afraid, be fearless. But the truth is, fear doesn't go away. You can't delete it. You can't escape it. What you can do, what every courageous person has learned to do, is transform it. You can turn fear into fuel. Fear as a hidden gift. A Vietnamese writer once said something powerful. I am grateful for my fears. She explained that fear gave her the drive to work harder, to care for her family, to never settle for a half-lived life too. Think about that. What if instead of running from fear, you thanked it? What if fear was not a curse but a compass, pointing you toward what matters most? In America, we often celebrate ambition, hustle, the dream of success. But behind so many of those stories is fear. The fear of poverty, the fear of being ordinary, the fear of wasting a life. Steve Jobs once said, remembering that I'll be dead soon is the most important tool I've ever encountered to help me make the big choices in life. Even death itself, the greatest fear of all, can be fuel for urgency, clarity, and courage. The entrepreneur's fear. Consider this. Every entrepreneur in Silicon Valley who launches a startup is afraid. Afraid of losing investors' money. Afraid of public failure. Afraid of being laughed at. But why do they push forward? Because fear of not trying is even worse. Howard Schultz, former CEO of Starbucks, grew up poor in Brooklyn. His greatest fear was not being able to give his family the life he wished he had as a child. That fear became fuel. It drove him to build not just a coffee company, but an empire of opportunity for thousands of employees. Fear doesn't have to shrink you. It can stretch you. Fail early, fail forward. One of the greatest lies about courage is that it means you'll always succeed. No, courage guarantees you will fail. Repeatedly. But failure is not the opposite of success. Failure is the soil in which success grows. In the US, motivational speakers often repeat a mantra: fail early, fail often, fail forward. One why? Because every failure strips away illusion and teaches you something you couldn't learn in theory. Fear of failure is natural. But if you let it stop you, you rob yourself of the lessons that make success possible. Think about an athlete. Kobe Bryant didn't become legendary by avoiding missed shots. He became legendary by taking more shots, missing more shots, and learning from every single one. His fear of failure didn't paralyze him. It pushed him into the gym earlier, kept him there later, and made him relentless. So if you're afraid to fail, good. That means you're human. But don't let that fear chain you. Let it drive you forward again and again until success has no choice but to meet you on the other side. The pain of regret versus the pain of fear. Here's a question. Which is worse, failing or never trying? Picture yourself years from now, old and gray, looking back on your life. Will you regret the risks you took and failed at? Or will you regret the dreams you never pursued because fear held you back? Bronnie Ware, an Australian nurse who cared for the dying, once wrote about the top regrets of the dying. Number 1 was this: I wish I'd had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life others expected of me. Notice that word, courage, not fearlessness. Courage. The people who regretted the most weren't the ones who failed. They were the ones who never gave themselves permission to try. Fear whispers, stay safe. Courage whispers back, what if safe is the most dangerous thing of all? Using fear as a compass. Here's a shift that can change your life. Fear points to growth. Are you afraid of public speaking? That's probably where you'll grow the most. Are you afraid of launching your own business? That's probably where your true calling lies. Are you afraid of being vulnerable in a relationship? That's probably where the deepest love waits. Fear is not a stop sign. It's a guidepost. It says, "Ease, pay attention." There's something important here. In fact, one of the best exercises you can try is this. 1. Write down your biggest fear. 2. Ask yourself, what opportunity is hiding inside this fear? 3. Take one small step toward it today. You'll find that fear and opportunity are two sides of the same coin. Stories of fear transformed. Let me tell you about Sarah Blakely, the billionaire founder of Spanx. She started with $5,000 in savings, no experience, and a mountain of fear. But here's the twist. She grew up with a father who asked her and her brother every night at dinner, "What did you fail at today?" Failure wasn't shameful in her house. It was proof that you tried. That mindset turned fear into fuel. And today, Sarah is one of the most successful female entrepreneurs in the world. Or think about Oprah Winfrey. She faced poverty, abuse, rejection. Fear was everywhere in her early life. But instead of letting it break her, she let it push her. To learn, to grow, to fight for her voice. Today, that same voice has inspired millions. These stories remind us, courage is not about escaping fear, it's about harnessing it. A personal reflection. Now pause and reflect. What fear has been controlling you lately? Maybe it's the fear of losing your job, the fear of starting over after a failed relationship, the fear of speaking your truth. What if that fear is actually trying to push you toward your next level? Imagine flipping the script. Instead of saying, I'm scared of losing my job, say, this fear is telling me it's time to grow, to upgrade my skills, to create new opportunities. Instead of, I'm afraid of failing, say, this fear is pushing me to prepare harder, to get stronger, to show up with more fire. Fear doesn't have to be a prison. It can be a compass. So, how do we turn fear into motivation? We recognize it as fuel. We reframe it as a guide. We let it push us into action rather than hold us in paralysis. Courage, remember, doesn't mean you're not afraid. It means you're afraid and you move anyway. And here's the beautiful paradox. The more you act in the face of fear, the less power it has. Step by step, fear shrinks and courage grows. So the next time fear knocks, don't run, thank it. Use it. Let it light the fire inside you, because on the other side of fear is not just courage, it's the life you've been waiting for. We've talked about fear. We've talked about turning fear into motivation. Now it's time for the practical part, the how. Because inspiration without action is just a nice feeling. What changes your life is action. And sometimes action begins with something as small as the words you tell yourself every single day. The power of self-talk. Here's a truth most people overlook. The most important conversation you will ever have is the one you have with yourself. Think about it. When fear speaks, it usually says things like, I can't handle this. I'm not good enough. What if I fail? Now imagine hearing those words every day. Of course you'd hesitate. Of course you'd doubt yourself. But what if you could change that voice? What if every day you reminded yourself, I am stronger than my fears. I choose faith over fear. I am capable of overcoming anything. 3. That's what affirmations are. They're not magic. They don't instantly erase fear, but they reprogram your mind. They train your brain to focus not on panic, but on power. Affirmations for courage. Here are a few powerful affirmations you can start using today. I release fear and embrace courage. Fear is just a feeling. It does not control me. I am confident facing challenges. My courage grows stronger every day. I step forward with faith and determination. 3. Say them out loud. Write them on sticky notes. Put them on your bathroom mirror, your phone wallpaper, your desk at work. Because repetition builds belief, and belief fuels action. At first you may feel silly, but over time your subconscious begins to absorb the message. And when fear shows up, because it always will, you'll have a stronger voice inside to answer back. Small wins build. Big courage affirmations are one part of the puzzle. The other part? Small wins. Admiral William McRaven, a U.S. Navy SEAL, once gave a famous speech. If you want to change the world, start by making your bed. One why? Because making your bed is a small win. It's simple, achievable, repeatable. It gives you a sense of control, momentum, and accomplishment before the day even begins. That's the secret of courage. It's not built in giant leaps. It's built in small, consistent wins. Think about it. If you're terrified of public speaking, your small win could be sharing your opinion in a small meeting. If you're scared of starting a business, your small win could be writing down one idea or talking to one potential customer. If you're afraid of failure, your small win could be trying something new today, anything, and simply surviving the experience. Every small win plants a seed of courage, and like any seed, it grows. The science of momentum psychologists call this the progress principle. When we make progress, even tiny progress, Our brains release dopamine, the feel-good chemical. That dopamine creates motivation to keep going. That's why small wins matter. They're not insignificant, they're fuel. They turn a downward spiral of fear into an upward spiral of courage. It's like going to the gym. You don't lift 300 pounds on day one. You start small. You build strength. And one day you surprise yourself with how strong you've become. Courage works the same way. Practical exercise, the fear list. Here's an exercise you can try today. 1. Write down 3 fears that are holding you back. 2. Next to each one, write a small, specific action you can take this week. O fear, speaking in public. Small win, introduce yourself to a stranger or volunteer one comment in a meeting. O fear, starting a business. Small win, draft a one-page plan or share your idea with a trusted friend. O fear, fear of failure. Small win, try something new with zero expectation of success, like a new recipe, a new workout, a new skill. 3. For each action, choose an affirmation to repeat before you do it. Example, I am stronger than my fears. This way you're combining mindset, affirmations with action. Small wins. That's how you build courage, step by step. Stories of small wins. Consider J.K. Rowling, the author of Harry Potter. Before she became a billionaire, she was a single mother on welfare, rejected by multiple publishers. Her fear of never succeeding was real. But her small win? She kept writing. 1 page, 1 chapter, 1 rejection letter at a time. Eventually, those small wins added up to a global phenomenon. Or think of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Before Hollywood, before wrestling fame, he was cut from the Canadian Football League and had only $7 in his pocket. His fear of failure was overwhelming. But he focused on small wins. 1 gym session, 1 audition, 1 opportunity at a time. Today, he's one of the most recognizable figures in entertainment. Neither Rowling nor The Rock woke up fearless. They woke up afraid, but they won small battles each day until courage became their second nature. Why this matters in your life. Maybe your fear feels huge right now. Maybe it's the fear of starting over, of leaving a toxic job, of facing a broken relationship, of chasing a dream that feels too big. Here's the truth. You don't need to slay the dragon in one day. You just need 1 small win, 1 act of courage, 1 affirmation whispered in the mirror when fear screams the loudest. Because courage is not built in giant moments. Courage is built in the quiet daily victories no one sees. And those victories over time transform your entire life. So here's your challenge. 1. Pick 1 affirmation that speaks to you. Say it every morning this week, out loud, with conviction. 2. Choose 1 small win that pushes you slightly outside your comfort zone. Do it. 3. Celebrate it. Write it down. Recognize it as proof that you are building courage brick by brick. Fear may never leave completely, but with affirmations to guide your mind and small wins to build your momentum, you'll discover something powerful. You are stronger than you think, braver than you believe, and more capable than you've ever imagined. Courage isn't a gift you're born with, it's a muscle you build. And today you can start lifting. We've explored what fear is. We've seen how it can be transformed into motivation. We've practiced the tools, affirmations, and small wins. Now, let's talk about what it truly means to live with courage. Because courage isn't just something you summon in a big moment. Courage is a lifestyle. It's a choice you make every single day. Courage in everyday life. When people think of courage, they often picture soldiers in battle, firefighters running into burning buildings, or activists standing up for justice. And yes, that is courage. But courage also lives in quieter places. Courage is the single mom in Ohio who works 2 jobs to give her kids a better life, even when she's exhausted and scared of the future. Courage is the student in California who stands up to bullying even when their voice trembles. Courage is the entrepreneur in New York who launches a business after bankruptcy, refusing to let one failure define them. Courage is not the absence of fear. It's moving forward while fear walks beside you. Who's driving your ship? Remember this question. Are you at the wheel or is fear? One fear can sit in the passenger seat. It can whisper. It can distract. But it should never drive. Living with courage means you take the wheel. You acknowledge fear, but you don't let it decide your direction. This doesn't mean recklessness. It doesn't mean ignoring risks. It means you measure the risks, you acknowledge the fear, and you move anyway. Because courage is not about being unafraid, it's about choosing who's in charge. Stories of courageous living. Think of Nelson Mandela. He spent 27 years in prison, never knowing if he'd see freedom again. Fear was his daily companion. But when he finally walked free, he didn't choose bitterness or revenge. He chose reconciliation. That's courage on the highest level. Or think about Bethany Hamilton, the surfer who lost her arm in a shark attack at 13. She could have let fear of the ocean control her life. Instead, she returned to the waves, stronger and more determined. Today, she inspires millions, not just as an athlete, but as a symbol of fearless living. And then there are everyday heroes you'll never hear about. The father who battles addiction and chooses recovery for his kids. The immigrant family that leaves everything behind to build a better future. The teenager who comes out as themselves despite judgment. These acts may not make headlines, but they are courage, pure and raw. The habit of courage. Here's something people don't realize. Courage is a habit. The more you practice it, the stronger it becomes. Every time you take a small step outside your comfort zone, you reinforce the identity of someone who is brave. Every time you speak your truth, even when your voice shakes, you prove to yourself that you can. Every time you act despite fear, you shift the balance. You give courage the driver's seat. And over time, those small acts of courage become your default. They become who you are. Fear will always exist. Let's be clear, you will never have a fear-free life. And that's okay. Fear is part of the human experience. The goal isn't to erase it, it's to coexist with it. To learn from it. To let it sharpen you without stopping you. Think of fear like a shadow, you can't get rid of it. But you can choose to walk in the light so the shadow falls behind you. Practical ways to live courageously. So how do you live with courage day after day? Here are 3 practical ways. 1. Ask better questions. When fear says, "What if I fail?" Ask instead, "What if I succeed?" 2. Choose action over perfection. Stop waiting for the perfect moment. It doesn't exist. Act now. Adjust later. 3. Anchor yourself in purpose. When your why is strong enough, fear loses its grip. Know what you're fighting for, your family, your dream, your freedom, and let that fuel you. The pain of growth. Living with courage doesn't mean life gets easy. In fact, it often gets harder. Because courage demands risk. Courage invites failure. Courage pushes you into the unknown. But here's the paradox. The harder the challenge, the greater the growth one. The more you step into fear, the more you uncover strength you never knew you had. Ask any athlete, any leader, any artist, they'll tell you, The breakthrough always comes after the breakdown. Imagine your life with courage. Now, I want you to imagine something. Imagine your life if fear no longer controlled you. What dream would you chase? What conversation would you finally have? What step would you take tomorrow if you chose courage today? Close your eyes and see it. Feel it. That's not a fantasy. That's your potential. And the only thing standing between you and that life is the decision to act with courage. Your declaration. I want to leave you with a challenge. In the comments of this video, write these 3 words. I choose courage. Not because writing them will erase your fear, but because declaring it makes it real. It's your line in the sand. It's your first small win in the habit of courage. Be when fear will always knock, sometimes loudly, sometimes quietly, but courage decides whether you open the door. So today and every day when fear whispers, "What if you fail?" answer with courage, "What if I fly?" Your best life begins where fear ends. So take the step. Live with courage. Because the world is waiting for the version of you that fear has been hiding.